I adored Labyrinth of Refrain, so when Galleria was first announced, I had to play it. I was super excited. Labyrinth of Refrain was so charming, massively so when it came to character interactions. The dungeon crawling and exploration elements still stand out to this day, even for games of a similar genre, so Galleria had a very high bar to reach. Let's just hope it does deliver. First things first, Galleria retains the charm of Labyrinth of Refrain, although I do miss Madame Marta. The characters all have their quirks, and aren't overly obnoxious. The art style is also simple and clean, just like the Kingdom Hearts theme, which helps give it a storybook motif. Exploration 2 is just as fun as it was, while also expanding on how you can traverse each dungeon with new and improved skills. It's super satisfying to knock down a wall only to leap over a giant pit like you're an Olympian trying to set a world record. The map in this game is genuinely useful too. Many important locations are automatically marked as you progress, and you can even make your own notes if you wish to do so. Forming your party is another thing I adored in the first game, and Galleria doesn't disappoint too much in that regard. Creating 20 puppets to do your bidding, each with their own personalities, unique skills, and even backstories if you like, adds that extra element to your customization. There are a bunch of extra appearances and colour palettes this time around too. The party size can be outrageous. You aren't limited to only 5 characters, but rather 5 formation slots, with each formation having its own number of usable characters and skills. Oh, and minor spoiler, you can create an army of little kitty cats if you so wish. The massive amount of customization isn't just limited to puppets either. You can go nutso with the amount of weapon and equipment synthesis that's available to you. This includes legendary items, which is a great touch. Speaking of touch, there are virgin items too, which grant you a massive stat buff for the first time you use them. Each class can use any weapon, by the way, so don't panic too much about finding the perfect weapon for each individual character. There is an abundance of equipables in this game, so you will never run out of weapons or fuel, as it were, to beef up your current wares. The last thing I'll touch on is the combat. Overall, it's pretty minimal, so much so that you'll mostly use your regular attacks as opposed to using skills left, right and centre. On the other hand, important battles are that much more interesting when you do. I lost count the amount of times I let out audible sighs of relief and cheered when I beat a big old chunky boss. Galleria also retains one of my favourite battle features in any JRPG, the crits and gore hits. If you are lucky, you'll get a crit for bonus damage. That's what we all expect, right? Well, if you are incredibly lucky, you'll get a gore hit. This does insane damage, like sometimes 100 times your regular damage, depending on the enemy you face. I've beaten enemies literally 10 times my level because I managed to luck out on gore hits. Just be careful, as these could happen to you too if you have a very unlucky character, and even will stop them reviving if your puppet's head gets crushed. Now, with all my gushing, there are some things which are a little lacking. The main one is with the story exploration. Progression is tied to the story, yet there is also a lack of direction. So you can progress super deep into the game, yet still have basic skills and menu features because you accidentally missed the key story beat. There isn't a specific floor or area which it tells you to explore. You do get exclamation points on the map, but they aren't exactly useful. This can lead to exploration being repetitive due to you exploring the same floors over and over again. It also doesn't help that there is no auto move function. I'd also like to see more unique character or class skills than there already are. Most of the time it's the formation you use that shines in battle as opposed to the class or characters themselves. This could easily be fixed by adding more elements. There are only 6 outside of status ailments, and 3 of those are the different types of melee attacks. It's odd seeing enemies covered in lightning, and yet there is no lightning attribute attached to them. It just seems like a missed opportunity to me. Lastly, in the late game, most of the classes just blend in with one another, especially when you start to merge abilities and skills, which is a huge shame. Imagine building your own unique characters, some of which you spent 40 hours improving and getting to know, to then be rewarded with the game, giving that character a unique, non-transferable skill based on how you use that character. Sure, that would be a tough thing to implement, but Final Fantasy II almost achieved this about 35 years ago, so I think we're long overdue adding this to current games. And there we have it. Labyrinth of Galleria is just as fun as Labyrinth of Refrain. So if you like one, you'll like the other. For me, Refrain wins when it comes to the main character and the story, however Galleria pretty much trumps it at everything else. If you love a good old-fashioned dungeon crawler, then you will feel at home here. My advice though, try not to explore too much in the early game. Instead, go for the paths which you feel will make you progress in the story. This will get you to unlock the more fun features as quickly as possible. Don't be like me and end up completing multiple dungeons and still being midway through the story accidentally.